सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे. Thank you.
हरे कृष्ण। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्. So we see that Maharaj Parikshit has taken a vow and he has come on the banks of the Ganges, which our Acharya Srila Jiva Goswami says it is actually Yamuna. And with his sankalpa, with his determination to achieve perfection at the last stage of his life, we see all the great sages, all the great personalities of the world, they have lined up. Everyone wants to witness this historic occasion of Maharaj Parikshit attaining perfection. So yesterday we heard the host of names of very, very exalted personalities. And it continues today. This is the 11th verse. So apart from those great personalities which we discussed yesterday, Annecha Dev Rishi Brahma Rishi Varya Raja Rishi Varya Arunadaschaya Nana Ashraya Pravaran Samethan Abhyarchya Raja Sirsha Bhavande. There were also many other saintly demigods, kings, and special royal orders called the Arunadayas, are special ranks of Rajrishis from different dynasties of sages. When they all assembled together to meet Emperor Parikshit, he received them properly and bowed his head on the ground. Raja Sirasa Vavande. He held his head on the ground as if he is offering obeisances to all of them. The system of bowing the head on the ground to show respect to superiors is an excellent etiquette which obliges the honored guest deep into the heart. Even the first grade offender is excused simply by this process. Prabhupada gives a very powerful remedy. Even the first grade offender is excused simply by this process. How? By genuinely bowing down and showing respect. And Maharaj Parikshit, although honored by all the rishis and kings, see, he was such a personality that everyone wanted to witness his departure. And that exalted personality in return is offering his obeisances, his respects. So how much gladdened will be the hearts of these assembled sages? Welcomed all the big men with that humble etiquette in order to be excused from any offenses. Generally, at the last stage of one's life, this humble method is adopted by every sensible man in order to be excused before departure. And we see that in the case of Srila Prabhupada himself. When Prabhupada was leaving this world, his departure time came. So Prabhupada also displayed such utmost humility. He begged forgiveness from all his God brothers. In this way, Maharaj Parikshit implored everyone's goodwill for going home back toward it. Sukha upavishishtu athate shubhuya krita pranama svachikirshitam yad vignapayam asavivikta cheta upastito agra abhigrihita pani. After all the rishis and others had seated themselves comfortably, Sukha upavishishtu vishishteshu. Happily they were all comfortably seated. The king, humbly standing before them with folded hands, told them of his decision to fast until death. So this was the vow, the determination. Although the king had already decided to fast until death on the bank of the Ganges, Prabhupada is writing Ganges, He humbly expressed his decision to elicit the opinions of the great authorities present there. Prabhupada gives the principle, any important decision, however firmly fixed, should be confirmed by some authority. That makes the matter perfect. Perfection cannot be achieved by one's own independent decision making. The Prabhupada is saying, any important decision, however firmly fixed, should be confirmed by some authority. That makes the matter perfect. This means that the monarchs who ruled the earth in those days were not irresponsible dictators. They scrupulously followed the authoritative decisions of the saints and sages in terms of the Vedic intention. Maharaj Parikshit, as a perfect king, followed the principle by consulting the authorities even up to the last days of his life. Raja Uvacha Ovayam Dhanyatamam Nripanam Mahat Atmanuagrinya Shilah Rajnam Kulam Brahmana Pada Socha Dhurat Vishristam Batagraya Karma. The fortunate king said, indeed, we are the most grateful of all the kings, for we have been trained to get favors from the great souls. We have been trained to get favors from the great souls. How? How they have been trained to get favors from the great souls? Can anyone say? We are the most grateful of all the kings, for we have been trained to get favors from the great souls. Generally, you sages consider royalty as refuse, to be rejected and left in a distant place. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he refused to meet Maharaj Pratap Rudra. So many times, his intimate associates, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Sri Ramanand Roy, requested that please give one audience to Maharaj Pratap Rudra. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected. One moment. Anyone remembers what Mahaprabhu?
Can't hear you properly.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu flatly refused to give audience to Maharaj Pratap Rudra because he was in the kingly order. What did Mahaprabhu say? He completely thoroughly rejected it. That same principle. This is what Parikshit Maharaj is saying. That although the sages, they are not interested. They reject the royalty. So how they are able to get that favor? What is that qualifies them to receive favor from the sages? What is that very unique quality that is there with Parikshit Maharaj that enabled him to receive favor from the great sages, although royalty is to be rejected by the sages? Yes, Madan Sulpro?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. He was a great devotee of the Lord.
He was a great devotee and he had such respect, as we see here, that he bowed down his head
Of
to
the Lord.
welcome all the sages. And what Prabhupada is writing, that when one bows down and pays respect, even the greatest offender is excused. This is one great quality, is to humble oneself And if one genuinely does that, he wins the heart. He wins the heart of the superior, or of here it is the saints and the sages. And of course, he's a great devotee of the Lord, that is true. But for only two devotees in the entire Bhagavatam, we see that all the sages have lined up. It is only for Bhishma Dev and Maharaj Parikshit. According to religious principles, one must leave stool, urine, wash, water, etc. at a long distance. Attached bathroom, urinals, etc. may be very convenient amenities of modern civilization, but they are ordered to be situated at a distance from the residential quarters. That very example is cited here in relation to the kingly order for those who are progressively marching back home, back to Godhead. Here comes the point. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that to be in intimate touch with the dollar and cent man or the kingly order is worse than suicide for those who desire to go back to Godhead. In other words, the transcendentalists do not generally associate with men who are too enamored with the external beauty of God's creation. By advanced knowledge and spiritual realization, the transcendentalist knows that the beautiful material world is nothing but a shadowy reflection of the reality, the kingdom of God. They are not therefore very much captivated by the royal opulence or anything like that. But in case of Maharaj Parikshit, the situation was different. Apparently, the king was condemned to death by an inexperienced Brahmana boy. But factually, he was called by the Lord to return to him. Other transcendentalists, the great sages and mystics who assembled together because of Maharaj Parikshit's fasting unto death, but quite anxious to see him, for he was going back to Godhead. This was the real purpose. That it was because everyone knew that he is returning home back to Godhead. Maharaj Parikshit could also understand that the great sages who assembled there were all kind to his forefathers, the Pandavas, because of their devotional service to the Lord. He therefore felt grateful to the sages for being present there at the last stage of his life. And he felt that it was all due to the greatness of his late forefathers or grandfathers. He felt proud, therefore, that he happened to be the descendant of such great devotees. Such pride in being related to the devotees of the Lord is certainly not equal to the puffed up sense of vanity for material prosperity. This first is reality, whereas the other is false and vain. So he's feeling very grateful. The feeling of gratitude is filled in his heart, and that he is expressing both in his actions and his words. Tasyeva me aghasya paravaresho vyasakta chitasya graheshu abhikshana nirved mulo dvijasaparupo yatya prakashakto bhayamasu dharte. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the controller of both the transcendental and mundane worlds. The controller of both the transcendental and mundane world. Where is the proof? The Supreme Personality is controller of both the transcendental and the mundane world. What is the verse? What is the pramana? Where Krishna declares? It should come immediately. बोलो दयाशील, बहुत सोच के हाथ लगाऊं ना लगाऊं.
कृष्ण प्रभु जी,
बोलो.
प्रभु जी, अहम सर्वस्व प्रभवो मत्त सर्व प्रवर्तते.
अहम सर्वस्व प्रभवो. Under me, under my jurisdiction, both the material and the spiritual world, it emanates because of me and it is functioning under my superintendence, my guidance, my direction. From me comes both. He is the controller of both the transcendental and the mundane world. has graciously overtaken me in the form of a Brahmana's curse due to my being too much attached to family life. This is one very extraordinary gift of the Supreme Lord, but he does not exercise on everyone. He exercises on those who are most fortunate. This is what he thinks, has graciously overtaken me in the form of a Brahmana curse due to my being too much attached to family life. The Lord, in order to save me, has appeared before me in such a way that only out of fear I will detach myself from the world. It's a great plan. And all this plan making is done by the Supreme Lord himself. Maharaj Parikshit, although born in a family of great devotees, the Pandavas, and although securely trained in transcendental attachment for the association of the Lord, still found the allurement of mundane family life so strong that he had to be detached by the plan of the Lord. Such direct action is taken by the Lord in the case of a special devotee, whom the Lord wants to accomplish a particular mission, not anyone and everyone. Maharaj Parikshit could understand this by the presence of the topmost transcendentalist in the universe. The Lord resides with his devotee, and therefore the presence of the great saints indicated the presence of the Lord. The king therefore welcomed the presence of the great rishis as a mark of favor of the Supreme Lord. Tam mopayatam pratiyantu vipra Ganga cha devi dhrita chitta mishe Dvijo parastha kuhakas takshakova Dastavalam gayata Vishnu gatha. O Brahmanas, just accept me as a completely surrendered soul. Tam me upayatam pratiyantu. And let Mother Ganga, the representative of the Lord, also accept me in that way. For I have already taken the lotus feet of the Lord into my heart. Let this snake bird, or whatever magical thing the Brahmanas created, bite me at once. I only desire that you all continue singing the deeds of Lord Vishnu. This is the inner disposition of Maharaj Parikshit. That he is welcoming. He was welcoming. This is the great good news. Why it is good news? Here it is. As soon as one is given up completely unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, he is not at all afraid of death. What is the verse? Very prominent Srimad Bhagavatam verse. Many places Prabhupada quotes this verse. In Bhagavad Gita also. That one who has taken to the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, he becomes free from fear. What is the verse? Bolo, bolo. So many times this verse comes, Prabhupada quotes, so many places, every scripture it comes. We should remember. Manoram Prabhu, what is the verse? We see this verse coming in the first chapter also. Where Arjuna is exhibiting so much of fear. At least in 3 to 4 places in Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada writes about this verse. I will not tell you, you find out. I expect you that whatever we have discussed and covered previously, at least some of it should remain in our heart. The atmosphere created by the presence of the great devotees of the Lord on the banks of the Ganges and Maharaj Parikshit's complete acceptance of the Lord Lotus feet was sufficient guarantee to the king for going back to Godhead. He thus became absolutely free from the fear of death. This is one very, very beautiful verse. This is the verse to memorize. This is what was the aspiration of Maharaj Parikshit to come to the banks of the Ganges and take the vow. Punascha bhuyad bhagavati anante rati prasangascha ashrayeshu mahatsuyamyam upayami srishtam maitriyastu sarvatra namo dvijebhya. Recite. Who will recite? Bolo. I'll share it again. Very beautiful verse. I'll try to explain the meaning also. Punascha bhuyad bhagavati anante rati prasangascha tadashrayeshu mahatsuyamyam upayami srishtim maitriyastu sarvatra namo dvijebhya. Please try to memorize this verse. One of the most inspirational verse. This is what a devotee should aspire in his life. So what he's saying, punascha bhuya, that even if I have to come again, even if I have to return again to take the body in any part of this material world, I have only one aspiration. What is that? Bhagavati Anante. Let me be engaged in the service of the Supreme Lord. How? By having rati prasangas tad ashrayeshu. Let me awaken the attraction for association of those devotees who have already taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Chatad ashrayeshu. Rati prasangas chatad ashrayeshu. First is that if I have to come again in this material world, let me be engaged into the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. And how could I be engaged in the devotional service? When I have rati prasangas, when I have invoked or when I have cultivated attraction for the devotees of the Lord and I have taken shelter of them. Again, offering obeisances unto you all Brahmanas, I pray that I should again take my birth in the material world. I will have complete attachment to the unlimited Lord Krishna, association with his devotees, and friendly relations with the living beings. Three things. Attachment to this Supreme Lord, that is devotional service. Rati prasangas, association with his devotees. And Maitri Astu Sarvatra Nama, and friendly relations with all the living entities. These three things you must aspire for. That the devotee of the Lord is only a perfect living being is explained herein by Maharaj Parikshit. A devotee of the Lord is no one's enemy. Although there may be many enemies of a devotee, A devotee of the Lord does not like to associate with non-devotees, although he has no enmity with them. He desires association with the devotees of the Lord. This is perfectly natural because birds of the same feather mix together. Prabhupada is saying mix together. Birds of the same feather always flock together. And the most important function of a devotee is to have complete attachment for Lord Shri Krishna, the Father of all living beings. This is the first quality, is to have attachment to the Supreme Lord. Or in this way it is Punascha Bhuyat Bhagavati Anante Rati. Yeah, this is more better. That if I have to come again, what should be my aspiration? Bhagavati Anante Rati. That I should have attachment. Rati means attachment or attraction. Yeah, attraction. Prabhupada in the word meaning is writing attraction, and in the translation is writing attachment. I will have complete attachment to the unlimited Lord Krishna. Bhagavati Anante, unlimited Lord. Then association of whom? Tatat Ashraya Mahatsu. Mahatsu means the pure exalted devotees. No, Mahatsu is within this material world. And Maitri Astu Sarvatra. This is perfectly natural because birds of the same for devotees to have complete attachment for Lord Shri Krishna, the Father of all living beings. As a good son of the Father behaves in a friendly way with all his other brothers, so a devotee of the Lord, being a good son of the Supreme Father, Lord Krishna, sees all other living beings in relation with the Supreme Father. He tries to bring back the upstart sons of the Father to a saner stage and to get them accept the Supreme Fatherhood of Godhead. What does it mean? What does this statement means? As a good son of Father, he behaves in a friendly way with all his other brothers. And he sees all other living beings in relation to the Supreme Father. He tries to bring back the upstart sons of the Father to a saner stage to get them to accept the Supreme Fatherhood of God. What does this statement of Srila Prabhupada convey? Yes, Madan Swarup Prabhu? बोलिए.
Prabhuji, those who are devout bring neophytes in the association, their association, so that neophytes can progress.
Neophytes.
And reach higher levels of bhakti. Neophytes.
Okay. What is your view, Dayashil Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Those who are rebellious soul, he tries to help them to regarding the Supreme Lord, to know about him and to.
Yes, Ramya, what is your view?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, it is the duty of a devotee to preach Krishna consciousness in every living entities, to every living entities.
This is the perfect answer. Whenever he is rebellious, he is antagonistic, he is atheistic, he is neophyte, whoever he is. It is the duty of a Krishna conscious person to bring everyone under the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he tries to bring back the upstarts, sons of the Father, to the saner stage. That means what? from their crazy and mindless stage to get them to accept the supreme fatherhood of God. Maharaj Parikshit was certainly going back to Godhead. But even if he were not to go back, he prayed for a pattern of life, which is the most perfect way in the material world. A pure devotee does not desire the company of the personality as great as Brahma, but he prefers the association of the petty living being, provided he is a devotee of the Lord. What is the bhajan? Which says, the pure devotee does not desire the company of the personality as great as Brahma, but he prefers the association of a petty living being, provided he is a devotee of the Lord. It's a very beautiful bhajan by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. The same statement. The pure devotee does not desire the company of a personality as great as Brahma, but he prefers the association of a petty living being. What is that petty living being? Provided he is a devotee of the Lord. Very beautiful composition by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bolo. Which song is this? Bhajan? Yes, Ravinder Prabhu and Priyanka Mataji.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी
Hare Krishna.
this कीट जन्म हो पछे तुआ दास बहिर्मुख ब्रह्मा
Janme nahi aas. Yes. Yes, very good. Exactly. See, this Bhajan Prabhupada has, this translation Prabhupada has put here. If you sincerely study, you will see how Prabhupada is using the bhajans, and in so many purports you will see the translations of so many other verses. Keet janma ho yata tua das. What is Keeta Jan? What kind of living entity is Keeta? Petty living being. So he prefers the association of petty living being. Keeta janma ho yatha tua das, provided he is a devotee of the Lord. Bahir mukha brahma janme nahi as. Iti sma rajadhyas asasya yukta prachina muleshu kusheshu dhira udan mukho dakshina kule asti samudra patne swasutane astabharaha. In perfect self-control, Maharaj Parikshit sat down on a seat of straw bed placed on the southern bank of the Ganges, with the straw roots pointing east, and he himself faced the north. Just previously, he had given charge of his kingdom over to his son. The river Ganges is celebrated as the wife of the sea. Okay. Ganges is celebrated as the wife of a sea. A seat of Kusha straw is considered to be sanctified if the straw is taken out from the earth completely with roots. And pointing the roots towards the east is considered to be auspicious. Facing the north is still more favorable for attaining spiritual success. Maharaj Parikshit handed over the charge of administration to his son before leaving home, and he was thus fully equipped for all favorable conditions. Evam cha tasman naradev deve prayopavishta devideva sangha prashasya bhuma vyakiran prasune mudamuhur dhundubhaya chaneduhu. Thus the king, Maharaj Parikshit, sat to fast until death. All the demigods of the higher planet praised the king's action, and in pleasure continuously scattered flowers over the earth and beat celestial drums. Even up to the time of Maharaj Parikshit, there were interplanetary communications, and the news of Maharaj Parikshit fasting unto death to attain salvation reach the higher planets in the sky, where the intelligent demigods live. The demigods are more luxurious than human beings, but all of them are obedient to the orders of the Supreme Lord. There is no one in the heavenly planet who is an atheist or non-believer. Thus, any devotee of the Lord on the surface of the earth is always praised by them. Very important. Those who are non-devotees of the Supreme Lord, they want to become devotee of the demigods. But what is the disposition of the demigods? Here it is said that any devotee of the Lord on the surface of the earth is always praised by them, by the demigods. And in the case of Maharaj Parikshit, they were greatly delighted and thus gave tokens of honor by scattering flowers over the earth and by beating celestial drums. The demigods take pleasure in seeing someone go back to Godhead, and they are always pleased with the devotee of the Lord so much so that by their Adi Devic powers, they help the devotee in all respects. And by their actions, the Lord is pleased with them. There is an invisible chain of complete cooperation between the Lord, the demigods, and the devotee of the Lord on the earth. So far, this was the intent and the expression made by Maharaj Parikshit. Now, what is the response of the sages? Maharishyo va samupgataye rahasya sadhu iti anumodimanaha ucha prajanu anugraha shila sara yat uttam shloke gunabhirupam. So Maharishyo va samupgayate. So all those great sages who were assembled there also praised the decision of Maharaj Parikshit. And they expressed their approval by saying, very good, very good. Anumodita, anumodhamanaha. Naturally, the sages are inclined to do good to common man, but they have all the qualitative powers of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, they were very much pleased to see Maharaj Parikshit, a devotee of the Lord, and they just spoke as follows. The natural beauty of a living being is enhanced by rising up to the platform of devotional service. Maharaj Parikshit was absorbed in attachment for Lord Krishna. Seeing this, the great sages assembled were very pleased, and they expressed their approval by saying, very good. Such sages are naturally inclined to do good to the common man. And when they see a personality like Maharaj Parikshit advance in devotional service, their pleasure knows no bounds, and they offer all blessings in their power. The devotional service of the Lord is so auspicious that all demigods, all sages, and the Lord himself becomes pleased with the devotee. And therefore the devotee finds everything auspicious. All inauspicious matters are removed from the path of the progress devotee. Meeting all the great sages at the time of death was certainly auspicious for Maharaj Parikshit, and thus he was blessed by the so-called curse of the Brahmana born. I'll stop here. We see how Parikshit Maharaj is feeling so grateful. He is counting the blessings. What all blessings did he count? Who will share? What all in the last 9 verses from 11 to 19? We covered till 19. What are the blessings that Maharaj Parikshit counted and he expressed? Bole? Quickly बोलो. कुबेर तुम सुन रहे हो ना? तो सुनने के बाद कुछ समझ में भी आना चाहिए. कुछ हमारे हृदय में भी जाना चाहिए। तो परीक्षित महाराज ने अभी किस किस का गुणगान किया, क्या उनके हृदय में कृतार्थ की भावना थी, बताइए। और आप अकेले सुन रहे हैं या आपकी बेटर हाफ भी सुन रही है?
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, बैठिए पास में।
अच्छा, श्रीमद् भागवतम है आप लोग के हाथ में?
जी जी प्रभु।
हाँ, तो सब लिखा है, कौन सी है, हिंदी है उड़िया है?
उड़िया है प्रभु जी, यहाँ पे उड़िया मिला।
अच्छा, चलो खैर कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता। उड़िया अगर श्रीला गौर गोविंद महाराज ने ट्रांसलेट किया था तो परफेक्ट हो गया। किसने ट्रांसलेट किया है उड़िया? मेरे ख्याल से श्रीला गौर गोविंद महाराज ने ही सब उड़िया में ट्रांसलेट किया। बोलिए, अभी हमने क्या सुना, इतना लंबा चर्चा किया, क्या बोल रहे हैं महाराज परीक्षित?
वो जितने सारे मतलब महर्षि लोग ऋषि लोग वहीं पे प्रेजेंट थे, उन लोगों के बारे में बता रहे थे प्रभु जी।
क्या बता रहे थे, वही तो पूछ रहा हूँ, क्या तत्व है, गोल मोल बात नहीं चलेगी, क्या बोले स्पेसिफिक? किस वर्ष में क्या बोले, कम से कम कुछ तो बताओ।
पहले उन्होंने अपना सबको ग्रेटिट्यूड दिखाया।
क्या ग्रेटिट्यूड? क्या 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 उन्होंने ग्रेटिट्यूड दिखाया, कैसे पता चला कि उनको ग्रेटिट्यूड फील हो रहा है? ग्रेटिट्यूड बोलने से ग्रेटिट्यूड नहीं है ना, क्या फीलिंग था? ध्यान से सुनिए, लिखिए।
जी।
पुरुषोत्तम, आप बताएं।
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
हरे कृष्ण।
Prabhu, he bowed down to all the great sages and simply by with folded hand he taken the permission for complete fast.
तो ठीक है, ग्रेटिट्यूड कैसे एक्सप्रेस किया उन्होंने, हाउ डिड ही कन्वे हिज ग्रेटिट्यूड, व्हाट वाज दैट पर्टिकुलर एस्पेक्ट दैट क्लियरली depicts his gratitude in the heart? How can we say? Oh. Yes, सोनिका बोलिए।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
हरे
परीक्षित महाराज ने एक वर्स में मेंशन किया था, आपने बताया था कि जनरली सेजेस जो है वो अपनी मर्जी जो है किंगली पर्सन्स को नहीं देते हैं, बट
ये नहीं कहा
यहाँ
था,
पे सभी
वो किंगली पर्सन्स के एसोसिएशन को रिजेक्ट करते हैं, वो
हाँ
उनके
रिजेक्ट करते हैं।
उसको रिजेक्ट करते
हाँ बट यहाँ यहाँ पे सब लोग आए हैं तो इसलिए जो है ये बोल करके परीक्षित महाराज अपना ग्रेटिट्यूड देते
हैं।
हैं कि आप लोग सभी अपनी मर्जी देने के लिए मेरे यहाँ पे मतलब सब एकत्रित हुए हैं।
Yeah, so this is a special favor. We are very fortunate to get that special favor from the great souls, because naturally you would reject us. You would not allow us to come in your association. But since because you have come, this is a great boon for me. And this is what the gratitude he is expressing. Very good. This is very important. Okay, what else? What else did we learn today? What else did he say? What are the reasons he said? सोनिका आपने बता दिया, बाकी लोगों को अटेम्प्ट करने दीजिए। बोलो जल्दी बोलो, सुन क्या रहे हो? यस रम्या बोलिए। आपका हाथ आ रहा था, हाथ अभी भी आ रहा है, फिर आप
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी।
हाँ बोलिए।
प्रभु जी, परीक्षित महाराज prayed to the sages that if he has to take another birth, he must have devotional service in his next birth. That is भोगपति अनंत
या
ऐसा कुछ
रति
है।
रति पुनश्च
और
भूयात् भगवती अनंता रतिस या
और डिवोटी एसोसिएशन होना चाहिए और सभी जीवों के प्रति उन उम,
मैत्री
मैत्री होना चाहिए।
या वेरी दिस इज एस्पायरेशन वेरी गुड व्हाट एल्स डिड ही एक्सप्रेस इन दिस वर्सेस वो वर्ष याद कर लो आप बाकी लोग याद करें चाहे ना करें वो वर्ष याद करो रोज बोला करो नहीं परीक्षित महाराज की प्रार्थना कौन सुनेंगे परीक्षित महाराज की प्रार्थना कौन सुनते हैं भगवान श्री कृष्ण भगवान श्री कृष्ण को इतने प्रिय है कि वो भागवत सुन सके इसलिए भगवान ने ये सारा कुछ एपिसोड करा दिया भगवत गीता बोल सके इसलिए इतना बड़ा महाभारत का युद्ध कराया और श्रीमद् भागवतम बोली जा सके उसके लिए उन्होंने इतना बड़ा एपिसोड करा दिया उनको सम्यक ऋषि के आश्रम में भेज दिया डेड स्नेक डलवा दिया और श्रृंगी को इतना उत्तेजित कर दिया कि उसने श्राप दे दिया क्यों क्योंकि परीक्षित महाराज रिसीव कर सके श्रीमद् भागवत ठीक है आप सब याद कर लो ये वर्ष बहुत ही वेरी ब्यूटीफुल वर्ष ओके आप लोग नहीं बताना चाहते तो मैं भी नहीं टाइम वेस्ट करना चाहता आप लोग उसको किताब में रखे रहने दीजिए आप लोग जान के क्या करेंगे क्योंकि आपके अपने प्लान है कृष्ण के जो प्लान है वो उनके प्लान है आपके प्लान और उनके प्लान में कोई कॉमनलिटी नहीं है मत भूलिए हरे कृष्णा श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय